Brett teaches Raspberry Pi.
Brett teaches Raspberry Pi.
Brett.
Tech is cool. T-minus 5 seconds.
Brett teaches Raspberry Pi.
All right, so now we're gonna move on to some more advanced applications for this SenseHat. What's next?
Correct. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start moving towards actually making a game on this thing. What do you think about that?
I love games.
Cool, and the first thing we're gonna do is look at how to plot points on your RGB LED there so that we can move from there. Have a player and other things we're gonna look at in the future.
Perfect, let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, let's go ahead and stop the program if we got it running. We're gonna go ahead and make a new program today. We're gonna build a plot some dots on that 8x8 matrix. We're going to sort of make a square around the edges and a little blue square in the middle. So let's import the usual statements up here at the top so that we can get our library imported. So we're going to do our from sense underscore hat. And then we're going to say import our capital sense capital hat. It's like before. And then we're going to make our variable, so sense equals sense hat. Make sure we do the capital S, sense hat, with 2 parentheses. Okay, and then we're going to make some variables for our colors. I'm going to do them really simple, just say R for red, and then we're going to set up our 25500. Remember, it goes red, green, blue as our colors. We're going to do green next. So we're going to say 0, 255, 0, and then let's do blue as B. We're going to say 0, 0, 255, so it's all of the blue. Then we're going to do, instead of using B for blank, since I've already used B, I'm going to use E here for empty. I'm going to say 0, 0, 0, so this is like an empty square, meaning there's no color whatsoever. So it's basically black, but the LED is off. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is just clear out the matrix just in case there's been something else there before. So we're going to go to a new line here, use our sense library of code and call the dot clear with the 2 parentheses method to clear the RGB screen out. Basically sets them all to blank. So we need to create a variable that represents our RGB LED screen using a special variable called an array. So an array is basically a collection of items that's stored in a single variable. So in our case, we're storing each pixel in our 8x8 LCD screen. So each pixel is going to be represented by a single color, and then we need tons of them. So we're going to go and build that array next. And so you're going to notice that arrays are essentially defined by square brackets. So a square bracket is the beginning of the array, then we put the first item, and then we put a comma, next item, comma, next item, comma, etc., 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 until we get to the very last item. We don't need the comma at the end, but then we're going to add another square bracket to finish the array. So the general structure is square bracket, value that you want to store, comma, as many values you need, followed by a closed square bracket. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a matrix variable. A matrix is basically just a collection of a bunch of things. So remember, we're going to start with our square bracket here. And then we're going to hit enter here, and I'm going to kind of keep them on a 8x8 row. So we're going to represent our first pixel here by one of the colors from above. In this case, we're going to use, I believe, green. Let's use green for this. So our first pixel in our array in the top left corner is going to be green. So let's put green here, G in our case, and then G, 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 G. We're going to do those 8 times. So we're going to have 8 variables there across the top. We're going to finish with a comma because we still want to technically continue. You could technically keep writing this on the same line, but we're going to hit enter here and go to the next line just so it represents the board a little better. So it's totally okay to do this as long as it's in the same structure here. So let's do the next row of pixels. So we're going to start with a green border, but then we're going to switch back to show our empty spots. So notice we're creating a square colored border around this whole thing, and everything in the middle is empty. So green on the outsides, everything in the middle is empty. There's 8 on each row so far. So we've got 2 of our 8 rows high so far as well. So we need to create 8 rows tall as well as wide. So here's our next row. We're going to do green again. Oops, got a space there. Empty, 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 empty. Followed by the last one should be green and a comma. Okay, this next row, we're going to start having a little blue square in the middle. So we're going to start with a green, then we're going to do an empty, then we're going to put a B for blue, and then another B for blue, and then back to empty, empty, green. So that's the first 2 squares of a 4x4 square of blue. Okay, then we're going to go green here, and then empty, empty, blue, blue, and then empty, empty, green. Okay, next row, green, and then we're going to do all empties across here again, basically repeating the top section, okay, followed by the green at the end. And we got green, empty, 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 and then green. So make sure you do 6 empties in the middle. You got 2 greens on either end. Okay, and then finally our last row here is just all greens. So you can kind of see what it's going to look like on the LCD screen here. So we got our full board built out here. There's no comma required on the last one. And then remember we got to end it with our square bracket there to end our matrix. Okay, so now we can use this matrix to actually tell the board to display this using all of these colors up here. So we're using green and blues. The greens goes all the way around this circle. We got everything's empty in the middle with the exception of the 4 blue squares there in the middle. And that's what our board's going to look like. So you can kind of imagine that in your head, but we're going to see it on the board here in a minute. So let's apply this matrix to our sense hat by using our sense variable up above that we pulled out of our library. So we're going to call sense dot, and then there's a function here called set underscore pixels with an S, and then inside the parentheses there we're going to pass that matrix variable we just created. So it's going to take that entire matrix, apply it to the sense hat's board, and then show it for us. So we need to make sure to save this thing. Remember, we always got to save it before we run it. So let's call this draw.py. We're going to modify this some more coming up, so we'll just keep it as draw for now. So we're going to go run and test it out now. Let's go see what it does. Okay, we got our matrix plotted. You want to go ahead and see it?
Yeah?
All right, let's go ahead and run it and show you what it does.
Wow. So you chose to do the blue dots on the matrix instead of the red?
Yes, they're beautiful, right?
Spectacular.
Okay, let's move on to the next part. Okay, we have a working matrix now that's showing on our screen, showing our square. So we're going to add some individual pixels that we can change in there so we can see how to just set a single pixel. So we're going to jump into our sense object again. And then instead of set pixels with an S, we're just going to call set underscore pixel, singular without the S. Okay, and then this is defined using an X and a Y coordinate system. So if you think in how a graph is defined, we have an X and a Y. Basically, X is from left to right. You can see the G's across here. And then your Y coordinate is from the top down. So if I said 2, 0 here, comma R for red, we start at 0 based in this thing. So first pixel here is 0, and then 1, and then 2. And then we're going down 0, which means we don't move at all. So this basically, third pixel here, this G, is going to be changed to red through this. So remember it's 0 base when you go through this. So 0, 1, 2 is that pixel right there. And we're going down none. So that'll set that pixel to red. And let's set a few more here. So sense.set pixel. Okay, and I'm going to say 7, 7, and then pass the color blue to it. So since this is an 8x8 grid and it's 0 based, we're going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 the very end. And then if we go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we're in the bottom right hand corner. Since it's 0 base and there's 8 wide, 0 is one of the numbers, 7 is the farthest it'll go. So if we had another one here, sense.set pixel, and let's say we do 5, 2, and then we're going to do green. So that means we need to come over actually 6 places. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is that one. And then we're going to go down to the second index, which is 0. So 5 is that one right there. And then we're going to go down to the second. 0, 1, 2 is that pixel right there. So we're going to change that pixel to be green itself. And then update it on the screen. Okay, so let's save it and run it and go see what it does. We've gone ahead and plotted more dots to our matrix. Let's go ahead and run it and see what it looks like. There we go.
Awesome, and that looks like the start of what you could use for character creation.
Exactly, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to use those for some players and have them move around the board.
Awesome.
Let's get to it.